We have a surprising Texans update revealing wild details out of the secondary for the Texans. They lose a member, and a much needed member, although he was not going to play a lot. A 10-year veteran has decided to call it quits, and that's somebody you need with a young cornerback room around your guys. So it's definitely disappointing here, but a lot to get to on Texans Digest. We'll jump right into it. But first things first, 77% of you are not subscribed. If you would, hit that subscribe button. Stay up to date with all Texans news. And honestly, let me know your thoughts on this right here. Ronald Darby, who signed with the Texans in the offseason, is deciding to retire. And when we originally signed Darby, I was like, this is a dumb idea. We don't need him. He did not have the best year with Jacksonville. He had a hip injury he was dealing with. He's 31 years old. He's played with 6 different teams. But when you think about it, this is actually a bigger loss than it actually seems, because looking at the depth chart, that's your only real veteran that's been playing in the league for a while. Other than that, you got Jalen Smith, a rookie. I mean, there's not many guys to go around, so that's where it kind of hurts. Traymon Smith has been with the team before, but now you ask DeMeco Ryans, like, it was not an easy decision. I wish Darby the best, but we now need to fill that position, not only for depth, but you're looking at probably signing a veteran now. So whoever that may be, you need somebody to at least teach up the young guys. And he says a veteran or a younger player. There's no need to get a younger player, right? And that was the whole reason you signed Ronald Darby, is because he probably wasn't going to play. And the surprising thing is he was at OTAs, and then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I gotta retire. So we saw Frank Ragnow of the Lions make a tough decision at 29, and I'm sure Darby really wanted to play this season, but with that hip injury, he went back into training camp, and, well, not training camp, but OTAs, and he was training, and he was just like, yeah, I don't have it in me anymore. So he didn't have the best season with Jacksonville last year, but just look at the Texans roster. You have so many young guns. Kalen Bullock is probably getting mentored by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Then you have Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, Jalen Pitre, all very young, dominant talents, and you don't have anybody backing up them to say, hey, this is how things go. So maybe now you go out and get a Stephon Gilmore on a 1-year contract. This is where you could start thinking about how do you want to mentor these young guys, because, again, you want to have some depth at this position. If any one of those 3 players get hurt, that's the problem, is you need some depth there. Traymon Smith's been with the team before. He could step up if he has to. But, like, you're looking at the fact that this team kind of needed Darby, as crazy as it sounds, because Darby he wasn't likely to play. It's kind of funny that, the Texans had hoped with the wealth of experience. I mean, that was really it. The number 3 cornerback is a little bit of a stretch. I don't believe that. No offense. It was always going to be Stingley. It was always going to be Lassiter. And then Jalen Pitre was a better slot corner than he was a safety for a while. So Pitre will most likely step up the slot corner unless he's not ready to go this season with the chest injury in terms of what he had, or bicep. Pitre had a torn pectoral muscle, so he's coming back off of that. And Darby was a good player to where you had to fill that need, and then now he just retired. So it was a good, cheap deal, and now I don't think the Texans are going to want to pay for a guy in Stephon Gilmore, who's probably going to ask for $10 million. But, I mean, there's definitely some options. You have to look at the best-case scenario, because I'm sure Gilmore wants to start. He's probably not going to play, but they definitely need to fill that position. So, I was disappointed to hear it, because it is a big blow. And now let's think about 2024, the Jaguars. When you have 46 tackles as a cornerback, that's not very good. No offense. That's probably means you've got burnt a lot, or you just weren't able to knock away a lot of passes. Tackles as a cornerback stat, not necessarily a good thing. Played in 13 games, started 12, hip injury that caused him to miss a few games. So 31, first 3 practices of the all-season workouts last year. I mean, he was there. This year was there again, and just, to my knowledge, I just wasn't ready for this season. So Ronald Darby is done with Houston, and I feel like you have to start thinking about who do you want to fill this position, as Darby is now on the retired reserve list, as I wasn't really expecting it. It was pretty shocking for me. And again, somebody who is a 10-year veteran as a cornerback is pretty crazy to see. So you want to have that knowledge and experience, especially with such a young cornerback core and I mean, such a great defense, right? The Texans have so many young guns on this team, and you have, Christian Harris potentially coming back. That's a good sign. And even on defense, I mean, Azeez Al-Shaair wasn't really a need. He was definitely a great fill. And I say not a need, but I mean, he stepped up last year, no doubt. But I like to compare the fact that he's a veteran, right? Henry To'o. I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but you guys can grill me in the comments. I'm pretty sure it's To'o, but anyway, that's another young player. EJ Speed, they got him for depth. Christian Harris is a young gun as well, but there's so many young players on this team. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter's getting up there in age, but you kind of see the similarities here that you have. On one side, you have a young player, and on the other side, you got a veteran in Hunter. On the middle, you got Al-Shaair, the captain, with left and right, he's got younger guys. So, I mean, that's kind of the real thing with the Texans. The only thing they could really get younger at is probably defensive tackle. So, you're looking to build on this season, and to not have Ronald Darby in the secondary, that's probably a bad sign because that's where you have all your young talent. The Texans had one of the most dominant, I would say, safety secondary rooms in the NFL. Once they got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who's back at his primary position as a free safety, I mean, that's a good, pretty deep safety room, especially after Eric Murray, left for the Jaguars. You kind of needed to fill that spot. Jimmy Ward wasn't doing anything, so you get Gardner-Johnson. Boom, perfect plug and play. But now, cornerback, I don't think, anybody there is really a veteran, so you need to now go get somebody else, and this is going to be the problem for the Texans. So let me know in the comments who you think they're going to go get, and let me know if realistically the Texans will probably be fine unless, again, something significant happens to where they have to go sign somebody because there is a major hole, and you can only assume the worst in terms of football and how physical it is, and the injury history with Mr. left cornerback. I won't say his name or what's going to happen because, I'm not going to jinx it. But the defense is solid. The defense is awesome. And I feel like losing Ronald Darby may sound like, yeah, it's just Ronald Darby, whatever. But when you break it down, a 31-year-old, depth cornerback who was going to provide a lot of experience, know him for his days on the Broncos. He was a great player. So he played for the Ravens for a little bit, was on the Jaguars last year, and finally said, all right, it's time to call it quits. Would love to hear that in the offseason. That way the Texans know, hey, we got to fill this position of a depth piece, of a mentor, of a veteran. So it's a little bit annoying to hear that, hey, I'm retiring, best of luck. But it's also like, he wanted to play. His body can't let him, is my assumption. But for Ronald Darby, it's congrats to him on retirement. He made a tough decision. DeMeco Ryan said they're going to fill the position. It's definitely not an easy decision, so wish him the best of luck. But, I mean, now the Texans got to figure out who they're going to get. And this is probably the more difficult side of things, to where you're just like, I really don't see anyone on the market right now. So we're looking at a tough season, that's for sure, on both sides. You have adversity on both sides of the ball. On offense, there's rumors about C.J. Stroud and his shoulder concerns. There's rumors about Joe Mixon and a foot ankle injury. And now Darby retires and Christian Harris is coming back. So there's still a lot of news buzzing around OTAs and around camps and all of that nature. So stay up to date on all the videos coming out in the future. We're going to be continuing to roll these things out. So a little bit of a quicker one today, but Ronald Darby is done with Houston. Would have loved him as a depth cornerback piece. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, appreciate all the support on the videos. Thank you guys for watching. It really would not be possible to bring you Texans Digest without you watching. So again, props to you guys. Appreciate all the support. 77% of you are not subscribed once again. Just want to throw it out there. But thank you so much for watching. Comment down below your thoughts on Ronald Darby and the retirement. And we'll see you in the next episode.